An article in the Mail Online by Lucia Lamery tells us, Royal baby announcements. That statement fiasco after Harry's wife gave birth to Archie. The announcement of a royal birth is steeped in as much tradition and theatre as any of the most glamorous royal occasions. As soon as the baby is born, a proclamation signed by doctors who delivered the boy or girl is rushed from the ward to Buckingham Palace and stands on an easel in the forecourt for the public to see. Celebratory gun salutes are also fired for the birth of every prince or princess, no matter where their place is in the line of succession. Princess Eugenie announced the birth of her new son Ernest on Instagram, while Mike Tyndall chose to share that his youngest son, Lucas, had been born during a podcast interview, recounting how Zara had given birth on their bathroom floor. King Charles's birth on the 14th of November 1948 was announced in traditional style, despite the heir to the throne being born late in the evening at 9:14 p.m. A handwritten proclamation of Charles's birth was posted on the railings outside Buckingham Palace, declaring, "The Princess Elizabeth, Duchess of Edinburgh, was safely delivered of a prince at 9:14 p.m. today." After his birth at Buckingham Palace, the bells at Westminster Abbey rang out. A 41-gun salute was fired by the King's Troop Royal Artillery, and the fountains of Trafalgar Square were floodlit blue in celebration. Philip, like most husbands of his era, was not at his wife's bedside during the birth and occupied himself by playing squash on the palace court. Upon hearing the news of his son's birth, the Duke then ran upstairs into the Boule room, which had been converted into an operating theatre, and held his firstborn, still wearing his sporting flannels and open-neck shirt. Princess Anne's birth was announced with a message posted on the gates of Clarence House, on a board outside the Home Office in Whitehall, and at Mansion House in the city. Charles and Princess Diana gave birth to their first son, Prince William, at the Lindo Wing at St Mary's Hospital on 21st of June 1982, making William the first future monarch to be born in a hospital. An announcement declaring the prince's birth was placed on a gold easel outside Buckingham Palace, but after a 16-hour labour, Princess Diana spent the night in hospital and showed William to the public with Charles the following day. 2 years later, Prince Harry's birth was announced in a similar way to his brother, with Charles declaring after the birth that the arrival was much quicker than last time. The birth of William and Kate's first child, George, was shared with the public in the traditional way, in keeping with his position as a future heir to the throne. Kate also chose the Lindo Wing to give birth to her children, the same as Princess Diana, and Prince William was by Kate's side as she delivered George on the 22nd of July, 2013. William would then make his first call to the Queen on an encrypted phone, while the public would be informed with a formal notice on a piece of creamy A4-sized Buckingham Palace-headed paper, framed on an easel. And therefore, those were the ways that the announcements would be made. The palace spokesman explained, "We wanted to retain some of the theatre of the notice. It's quite important to us that this is done properly and with the degree of dignity that the birth event demands. This is the birth of a child who will be in line to the throne. It is a rare occasion, and it is nice to be able to do it with some historical precedence." Princess Charlotte's birth was shared on Twitter on the 2nd of May 2015, later followed up with a traditional easel announcement. The announcement of her younger brother Louis's birth, Loose Cannon Louis, on the 23rd of April 2018 was extended to both a Twitter and an Instagram post, which included all the traditional content, such as the baby's weight, and that Her Royal Highness and her child are both doing well. Accordingly, the Mail explains the way that it was always done, but then we come to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex swerved traditional channels, opting for a birth shrouded in secrecy before their social media reveal of baby Archie's birth. but a series of miscommunications from Harry and Harry's wife's PR team meant there was confusion over the announcement of the birth after emails informing the media reportedly failed to send. While Harry's wife gave birth to Archie at 5:26 a.m. on the 6th of May 2019, emails did not reach some media outlets until 2 p.m. Kensington Palace blamed technical difficulties on site at Windsor, for some media outlets receiving statements on time, others late, and some not at all. The Palace had said it would announce that the Duchess is in labour. However, the statement eventually put out, over 8 hours after the baby had actually been born, was ambiguously worded, reading, "The Duchess went into labour in the early hours of this morning." They had called Sky News, which had been picked at random to be the pool broadcaster, which would syndicate its footage to all networks, and the channel broke the news to the world at 1:45 p.m. Less than an hour later, with journalists and royal watchers' heads still spinning, Harry and Harry's wife's Instagram account posted a picture saying, "It's a boy." An easel was placed outside Buckingham Palace 12 hours after the birth, and without the names of the medics who had attended to the Duchess. This all, of course, creates something of a fiasco, and you might ask yourself, why is the Mail releasing an article now about all of the various royal births and highlighting the fiasco that took place in relation to the birth of Archie? Is this some kind of implicit suggestion that some chicanery was at work? Is it the case that they know that there has been chicanery but are prevented from saying so, and this is their subtle way of getting that information out there? It, of course, is typical of Harry's wife not to want to do things the way that everybody else has done. Driven by her narcissism, she regards convention as a threat to control, albeit subconsciously. And therefore, that might be the case why things were not done in a conventional fashion. But there is also the suggestion that comes from certain quarters, of course, that she didn't actually give birth. And typically of the Sussexes, that when they tell lies, it shows in a shambolic response that this fiasco that took place around Archie's birth might be representative of the fact that Harry's wife did not actually give birth to him, and that it occurred by virtue of surrogacy. That, of course, is all speculation, but the manner in which the announcements were made and the chaotic nature surrounding them certainly does not do anything to quash the rumours that surrogacy was involved. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.